Do you know the true story of the Tulsa Hex House and the woman alleged to have placed a spell on 2 others to keep them as her servants? In 1944, a woman named Carol Ann Smith came under investigation for rations fraud. According to the Tulsa World, a teacher at a local elementary school where Carol Ann had put in an application for a rations book tipped off federal officials after children at the school recognized Smith and knew that the names that she used were not her children, but instead her dogs. The police began investigating and learned through her neighbors that Smith and her roommates had a strange reputation in the neighborhood. Eventually, the police made their move and raided the home, finding evidence of mass rations fraud, as well as 2 young women that Carol Ann had been keeping imprisoned as slaves in her basement. The women, Virginia Evans, 31, and Willetta Horner, 30, were found beaten and starved and forced to sleep on wooden crates. But, much to the surprise of the police, there didn't actually seem to be anything physically keeping the women there. They would even leave to go to work, then return on their own. According to the girls, this was because Carol Ann had put a hex on them and was keeping them mentally locked to her under the guise of religious purification. After the news broke, people began digging in, trying to find out more about the lady of the Hex House. She was born Opal Mary Carey and moved to Oklahoma from Indianapolis after the death of her mother. A few years later, she married a man named Faye Harold Smith and moved to Tulsa. Then, the Great Depression hit and Faye would lose his job. In January 1934, Faye would be found dead with a, quote, bullet wound in his chest and his father's gun nearby. Officially, it's ruled a suicide, but that doesn't sit well with the people who knew Faye. Even Carol Ann would make comments about how she thought her husband was murdered. But with his death, Carol Ann would begin collecting life insurance money. The next year, a woman named Beulah Walker stepped into the path of a vehicle being driven by a local firefighter named C.C. Raines. Raines was able to stop, but another car actually hit him from behind and pushed him into Walker. She would die of her injuries. There are a lot of stories about how Walker and Carol Ann are connected. Some claim that Walker was Carol Ann's maid, but that just isn't true. She was a nurse by profession, and the 2 women were just friends. Others claim that she had come running out of the house that would eventually become known as the Hex House, but that also doesn't appear to be true since Carol Ann hadn't even moved in there yet. One thing we do know to be true, though, is that Carol Ann was the beneficiary of Walker's life insurance policy. 2 years later, in 1937, Carol Ann meets Virginia Evans, a recent divorcee, and the 2 became roommates. The next year, Carol Ann met Willetta Horner at a grocery store, and eventually she would move in as well. After living in a few different places, the 3 eventually ended up at the duplex on the corner of Main and 21st in the heart of Tulsa. Which brings us back to 1944, the police raid, they find the 2 girls, they find evidence of fraud, and that's not even everything. There's also the mysterious 11 or 12-year-old boy who also lived there who may or may not have been Carol Ann's nephew, that Carol Ann had taken out life insurance policies on all of them, and that she had already begun assuming a new name and claimed to have married a man who didn't really exist. In the end, Carol Ann served 1 year in prison for inducing false testimony, no time for the captivity of Virginia and Willetta, and only probation for the rations fraud.